Greetings, everybody. Billy O here, coming to you from Palm Desert, California, with another episode of Huns History. This episode's brought to you by our friends at 512 Solar. We're going all the way to England today to meet with Dave Six-Pack Zack. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you? How's everybody back home?
You know, we're doing all right, trying to get past this COVID thing and open the world up a little bit. But tell me before we get started, six-pack, that's because of your abs, right?
I wish that's what it was from. That comes from, I had a really bad habit of getting really nervous before matches. And I typically maybe had a little bit to drink the night before, maybe a six-pack, maybe more. And I regurgitate that on the field in the first few minutes. And so it rhymed with Zack. And so six-pack was a six-pack yak. Comes from Artie.
Well, you know, that's a great nickname. I think it's better than Billy O. So good for you.
Six-pack it is.
You know, Dave, it's great to have you. I enjoyed meeting you at the Hall of Fame banquet last August. We're doing these and we're trying to get a sense of guys and their time with the Huns. When did you start with the Huns?
So I joined the Huns in '87, and I didn't know much about rugby at all. I knew I liked the shirts. They looked good. And I went into Nasty's in '87 with a friend, and we used to hang out at Nasty's '81 through '85 when I was at university. There was a cardboard sign up. It had a lightning bolt on it. It said, "Looking for rugby players. We train Tuesdays and Thursdays." And I think it was Rick was running the bar that night. I asked about it. He said, "Come out to O'Henry Middle School at 7. Went to a couple trainings. Played that weekend against, I think it was University of Texas, and fell in love with it. And played then from '87 to '97. Started off as a prop for a couple years, then moved to second row. Went over to Scotland for a couple years, played with an old boys club over there, came back and played with the Silverbacks. So, yeah, I fell in love with it. It didn't take long. 2 trainings and a match. I couldn't move because they put me at prop, and I'd never used those neck muscles in my life. But I said, you know, this is my new home.
You know, if you were at Nasty's from '81 to '85, I'm sure we ran into each other, even though you weren't a Hun yet, because I've spent a lot of time, met my first wife at Nasty's in that period. What did you like about the Huns? I mean, obviously you fell in love with rugby, but what did you like about the group of guys?
It was, you know, and I've heard other folks talk about this. Back then, the club was, I guess, a bit down. You know, I went to the first training. Again, it was the Acuñas. It was Rick. It was Jack. Might have been Beetle. A couple other folks. It was just easy going. You know, we ran some laps. We threw the ball around. You just didn't feel, well, I didn't feel like people were too full of themselves. You could just tell folks got along. They liked to play sports. They didn't take it too seriously, but they took it serious enough. They liked to drink. They liked to have fun. There weren't a lot of egos. And so that was the thing that really got me interested. I love sports and I like to drink, and so it was a good combination. But as things went on, you know, you really got to know folks, and, you know, that team grew from 10, 15, 20, and it just, good group of friends, whether it was socially, doing stuff with families, going to people's weddings, you know, being there if somebody needed some help, and vice versa. It's just it's a big family. I always say, and I really do mean it, you know, the best thing that ever happened to me was meet my wife. Next best is having my 2 boys, but the third best is joining the Huns, and I really mean that. It made me who I am in a lot of ways. It gave me confidence. I had a hell of a lot of fun and a lot of good memories and a lot of good friends.
It's really interesting to hear you talk about those guys that I played with some, but also about the tears in your life, because I've had the same exact experience, wife, kids, Huns, and, you know, more than my career, I really feel that the Huns are a huge part of my life.
I really do believe that playing a team sport, you really learn about who people are. You know what people's strengths, what their weaknesses. I don't know. It's an incredible experience. And it was just an incredible group of guys to get around and just to have fun. It was just fun.
Well, look, you were a great storyteller at the Hall of Fame banquet. Why don't you spend, the next 6 or 7 minutes just telling us some Hun stories, your experiences on and off the pitch?
Sounds good, and I'll probably share some pictures if that's okay.
Awesome.
I
Awesome.
think I think one of the things that you've been asking folks is best on the field experience. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
So I think a lot of folks, and I agree with this, the first time we won the TRU championship was big, and that was a great experience. I mean, getting to play Denton the following weekend up in Dallas, I think to go to the regionals was awesome. It was a hard-fought match. They were our rivals. This is my all-time favorite Hun picture. It's Terry scoring the winning try against Denton. So that was a great experience, something I really loved. Big J there coming through.
There were a lot of Hun legends in that last picture too. Terry Adams, John Banks.
There's a lot of big time personalities in there, and I'll never even forget some of the Denton guys. But I think a lot of folks are going to talk about beating Denton. My favorite experience, or the one that really sticks with me, was the first time we won Corpus Christi Sevens. And really, it was one of those.
Is that a young Brent Graff in the middle of that?
That is a young Captain Poot. So we formed a team. It was the four Cunha brothers, myself, Captain Poot, and then three guys from UT. Again, this was when we struggled a bit to get players. A guy named James, a guy named Murray, and a guy named John Alvarez. And John eventually came and played for the Huns. And again, I'd never really played sevens. And so you go down to Corpus. It's one of the more fun tournaments, but it is hot, and the turf is hard. The Acuñas have been coming to that tournament for many, many years, and I may be wrong, but I don't think they ever won the tournament. And those things last all day. You got to be fit, and it's good competition. And it was the first time we won. That's Dave having a cold beer to celebrate, getting it from his brother Tom, who's the fifth Acuña. That's the first time we ever won anything when I was a Hun, was we won the Corpus Christi Sevens. And it's just, again, that's a great picture. It's one of my favorite pictures. It sits in my office. So you've got the four Cunha brothers in their prime, Captain Poot, myself, and three of our buddies from UT. It was just a hard day, and I think for all of us, it was big for the Acuñas because they've been wanting to win that tournament forever. They finally did it, but it also, I think, kind of set the stage for some of the success we had maybe later on. We built off of that. A couple years later, there's some other legends. This is up at A&M Sevens. And again, we were talking earlier, Sevens wasn't that popular, but I really enjoyed it. Being a fairly big guy, I could back then run a bit. But to play with the Acuñas, we had Cherry on that team. We had Graham. We had JD, Captain Poot, Joe Pay, Dave Pelton, John Alvarez. That was a solid team right there. I think Jerry, by that point, and Bruce had blown out their knees and weren't playing. But that was a big time tournament back then, and we won that thing pretty handily. And again, it was just fun. The drive down there, getting breakfast, hanging out all day, drinking beer during the tournament, drinking a lot of beer afterwards, driving home, and then celebrating the nasties. I think it set the stage for 15s.
Look at David Pelton in that picture. I think David Pelton weighed 109 pounds soaking wet when he started in the Huns.
I'll tell you what, Pelton was a really good sevens player. It was great to have him out there. And again, he was one of those guys that was a real good organizer. The one guy here, I think his name was Ali or something. He was a South African. He was one of those transient players that comes over and plays with you for a year, one of those foreigners who wants to just enjoy the U.S. vibe. He did that, came and left, but he helped us win that tournament, which was really a big deal.
Awesome.
So, I guess
how about off the pitch?
Off the pitch, so there's a lot of good stories off the pitch, and I think one of the things that the Huns in the late 80s and 90s did is we started doing things off the pitch to help the community, which I think was again a building block. You know, we started doing the bowling for kids. We took care of a section of highway out by Bastrop. We did work with Special Olympics, but we started doing other things. We started the whole boat party thing. You know, I've got pictures of that first boat party. Jay retired. We gave him some toy golf clubs. Obviously came back out of retirement. Jerry was there. John Banks had left for a bit and joined the Blacks, so he got like the knife in the back award. But we
John
started
Banks joined the Blacks?
You didn't know that?
I did not know that Johnny
Yeah,
Banks
John.
played for the Blacks for a while.
I have pictures of that boat party. I'll put some of these pictures. I'll share them, and you can put them online. I'll add some of these other pictures. But probably, you know, my favorite memory, and I'm going to again share some pictures because it's kind of the culmination. And again, let me know if you can see this. So again, I've had some special nights. I'll say my wedding and some other things. But can you see that?
Yeah, that's a great picture. A lot of guys there.
So this is the night after we won the TRUs for the first time. And so that's most of the pack. The only one missing there is Jack. He may have taken the picture.
You got Jay Rudd, yourself, Don Chandler, Carl Dahlberg, John Banks. I don't know the guy in the back.
His name's Glenn Turnbull. He was a hard-as-nails guy that, again, played with us for a year. He was in the U.S. Air Force, but he was British. Story about that guy after one of the boat parties.
Before you tell the story, then Terry Adams next to him.
Exactly. Glenn one night after a boat party, and I've never seen anyone do this, he chugged the bottle of tequila in one go and instantly passed out, and we had to stay with him the rest of the night because if he'd gotten arrested, that was an AWOL offense in the Air Force. But yeah, that was the pack. And the one thing I'd say is that when you look at these pictures, there's a lot of truly happy folks there that just the smiles, it's true happiness. There's Cherry and myself with it seems funny, that's the shittiest trophy in the world, but we were so proud of that trophy. We got Carl. He may have had a couple beers at that point, flashing some moves. Cherry, again, bringing out a little bit of, I think that's some kind of a bubbly champagne.
This is Thierry Daupin, right?
This is French Cherry, and then having a little champagne in my tennis shoe. Traditional thing in France. Big Bruce. Bruce, well, I'll get to Bruce in a second, but it was just a great night. Again, players that had played in that match, folks that just had come down to support us. That's Carl's brother. That guy drinking the beers, a guy named Mother. A lot of the backs and their wives, you notice the backs are the only ones that have girlfriends. Us front row didn't have girlfriends. We kind of hung by the bar and just drank beer. And actually up here, that's what I was talking about. Adopt a highway. Next 2 miles, Huns Rugby Football Club of Austin. Didn't even notice that when I was looking at that. There's your pack out back where we belong by that big old keg of beer. And again, Glenn, Turnbull, Terry, John, Don. Yeah. Again, there's the flankers and the number 8, Jack and John Banks and Glenn. Dave Wirch, who's very, very much missed. Unfortunately, Dave passed away a year or 2 ago, but with Jerry and
Super Dave, right?
Super Dave. And again, it brings it home. I mean, Dave was a huge part of that team, played with us for many years, and he's missed. He's missed quite a bit. Great picture of the backs and some of their girlfriends. I mean, it was such a fun night. We got back probably about 8. Jack shut down the bar, and I don't know when we left. Carl up on the bar doing his dance. Bruce being happy, Don being happy. There's Super Dave again. I'm going through these. We got Jerry and Don. Really good picture, I think. Oops. I thought of the backs, but it looks
those
like
are all great pictures, man.
Yeah. So that's probably my favorite off the field memory is, the night we won the TRUs. It was just a culmination of a ton of work. A lot of really important folks in my life and in each other's lives, and just such a sense of accomplishment and just chilling out with your friends and having some beers.
You know, that night meant a lot Carl spoke about it a lot too. Before we sign off, I have to give you a chance to rebut. I've asked 3 people about the night you destroyed the trophy case at Nasty's with your head. I've gotten their perspectives on it. What happened that night?
I don't remember a lot, which is probably so. I remember I don't remember if it was on a weekend or a Thursday, but we were up there and usual Hun stuff. We were drinking, having a good time, getting a nice buzz on. And we wanted Jack to get us a new trophy case. And Jack has a reputation maybe of being a little cheap at times. I don't think that that's really fair, but he had that reputation. And between the amount of beer I had and getting egged on by Carl, by Chandler, by Poot and others, we figured the only way we were going to get a new one is if that one got broken. One of the guys, Sean Rutledge, used to always call me Squarehead and said my head was like hard as a rock. And we determined the best way to do that was, I think I got about a 20-foot run and just literally put my head through that. I think it took 2 goes. I'm probably lucky I wasn't killed because that thing was made out of plexiglass and it was all full of shards after that.
Well, the story is remarkably consistent across all tellings. A great night in Huns lore.
It was, and one of the other groups of folks I wanted to talk about real quick, because you asked about a memory, and there's so many good memories. I could talk about when Carl got his eyebrows shaved off, when he was a new player and we almost lost Carl. I can talk about the time Carl lost his short-term memory and literally could not remember anything for more than a minute. We probably should have taken him to the hospital. But I know a lot of times you ask for like a character, a favorite Huns character, and I just can't pick one. So I don't know if you can see what I got on there.
I do.
It's a Fantastic Four, and I think when I look back, there's definitely a Fantastic Four from when I played, and that would be the 4 Acuna brothers. And I think they all fold into this montage. I think Jerry has to be Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, always, keen on how he looks, having that nice hair. Maybe underestimated, but extremely dangerous. I don't think you ever wanted to piss Jerry off on the pitch because he wouldn't get you straight up. He would get you when you weren't looking, and believe me, you paid the price. You got to have Bruce down as the Thing, indestructible, big, powerful, not afraid to get his head stuck in. I got to say, Artie as the Human Torch, Johnny Storm, the sexy guy, the funny guy, always picking up the ladies. And I think Dave's the ringleader. Dave's the brain of the organization. He keeps them together, make sure they don't get in trouble. I have so many good memories of the Acunas. They were great rugby players, but they were great friends. And the thing that I liked is you really got involved in their family.
They're great guys.
Once you got, to go down to when we would play Corpus, we'd get breakfast at the Acunas. Goldie would cook us breakfast. We got to know their other brothers and their sisters. They were always there for you. Like I said, and that's a great picture of Dave and Artie, and that's at one of the boat trips. Great players off the field. We used to hang out. We used to drink. We used to party. I think I'm in another world. That's not the night I put my head through the trophy case, but from looking at that, I think I was pretty much close to the moon on that night. Like I said, action shot of Bruce, excellent rugby players, excellent friends. I can't say enough of what the Acunas mean to me, and I think what they meant for the club. The stories over here when I say that we had 4 and sometimes 5 brothers when Tommy would join in, to me, they're the backbone of the Huns. I love those guys.
I have nothing but great memories of the Acunas too. And, I didn't see some of them for 20-something years, and in the bleachers, they'd go, "Hey, Bill, how you doing?" 30 years maybe. It was like you never missed a beat. And I was very close to Jerry, having played with him in the 70s and the 80s. So I agree with you 100%.
Good guys.
All right, man. Great
Listen,
talk. I wish we had more time, but thanks very much for doing this.
no worries. Listen, you stay safe. Thanks for all the work you're doing. And hello to all the former and future Huns out there. And looking forward to seeing folks again soon, I hope. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise, man. And everybody, remember our sponsor, 512 Solar.
512 Solar here in the UK. Thank
Go
you, buddy.
Huns.
Huns.